All right, here we go, 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Roll call, Schatzinger.
Here.
Page.
Here.
Oh, there we go. Vanderbrink.
Here.
Iverson. Here. Krieger. Here. Gotsky. Here. Ellen.
Here.
All right, do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Second. Any discussion? I don't know the proper terminology, but we will vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment? Pat?
No, sir. You're on candid camera.
Motion to approve the secretary's report from October. Any changes? Any discussion on there?
I have some changes.
Okay.
Interim chief, it's Hollitz, not Holtz.
Oh, my.
Also, under public comment, I did make a public comment, and thank you for that credit, but I think it's more important to have put what was said.
Okay.
I mean, it should be part of the
Okay, I'll go back and fix that, Barry.
great.
Anybody else? Have a motion to approve secretary's report from October?
I would say, don't you want to say with the,
Oh, with the amendments proposed.
with the corrections, maybe say.
Sure. With the corrections.
I'll make that motion. Seconded.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Motion approved.
Motion approved. There we go.
Good.
You're better.
No, you're good.
All right, moving on to the treasurer's report. You'll see a large packet from CLA in the financial report. CLA will be back in December for the meeting to actually go over it. If anybody wants to talk about it, we can have a discussion. There's not an action item for it tonight to vote on. Do that in the December meeting. Any conversation on it?
I would like to draw attention to this, where's it right here? The letter to the board of directors, kind of a communication memorandum that's dated October 16th, in which they do discuss some possible fraud considerations in our way we've done business in the past. I'm going to skip down to the second paragraph there. However, during our audit, we became aware of deficiencies in internal controls other than a significant deficiency in material weakness and other matters that is an opportunity to improve the efficiency for your operations. Okay, so they're asking us to get better there. That's my take of that. Our comments and suggestions regarding these matters are summarized below. We previously provided a written communication dated October 16, 2023 on the entity's internal control. A separate communication dated October 16, 2023 contains a written communication of significant deficiencies and material weaknesses in the entity's internal control. This letter does not affect our report on the financial statements dated October 16, 2023, nor our internal control communications dated October 16, 2023. Okay, I'm going to read this a little bit here, and now I have something else to read later, okay? To summarize this, fraud considerations is the next paragraph here listed. The district is responsible to design and implement procedures and controls to prevent, deter, and detect fraud. It is important that the district periodically consider where fraud may occur in your organization and establish procedures based on cost-benefit analysis that minimize the district's risk of fraud. Okay, and then it continues on what some of the possibilities, reasons of fraud, called the fraud triangle: pressure, opportunity, and realization. okay? So that is something that you guys need to read over. So they summarize something at the back of that too about reconciling bank statements, right? That is something you guys we need to look at a bit further and ask Amber when she comes next month. And I think there was something else here that I saw in here. But I urge you all to read this to read this over very carefully. There's been some, I would say, people not really paying attention to what they were doing at the very least, and we need to pay much more attention and get much more hands-on with the way this organization is working, okay? So I need you all to read that over, ask questions to Ellen and Amber and to myself, and so we can figure out what's going on here, okay?
Can I ask a question related to what you just said?
Sure.
There, on the very next, on the top page, it recommends the district complete an evaluation of known fraud risks. Does, perhaps our consultant, is there a evaluation that is used?
We will talk to Amber about that when she comes next month. That's a good question, Jolene, and that's something we're going to be talking to her about. And if you look through here, some of the things that they've recommended that we do would help mitigate any possible problems with handling the money and where it's going and keeping track of it, which I think has been one of the significant problems we've had recently. Is we've already talked about the money. We don't know where the money went for fit testing. We don't know where the money went for physicals, but that money seemed to have been spent. That at least last I understood it. So we need to have better internal controls on where that money's going and making sure that stuff was done. And I think that's what our goal is, okay, for that. So anyway, I think just look it over and I think that we look it over, and I don't know if Ellen wants us to turn this back in before we leave or take it with
No,
us.
I think we're supposed to bring it with us, look it over, and bring it back to the December meeting.
Right, that's it. Bring it back to December meeting. Please bring it back. Okay? Okay, that's all I have to say. I've already been looking at the uncorrected copies of this, so I'm a bit more familiar with what was said in there.
Anybody else? Again, this isn't an action item, so we're not voting on anything on this tonight. All right, moving on to Ruby Volbrecht's donation. Heather, do you have an update?
Yep, we received, Ruby Volbrecht left some money in her estate to us, and we received the checks this last week. The amount that we received was $5,975.24.
What was that number again?
$5,975.24.
Okay.
So, I guess we need to,
Sure. Can I go a step back?
Sure.
So in the donation, just to go back maybe to when it first started, is there any restrictions that
No.
foundation gave to us?
yeah, nope,
Just-
there's no restrictions.
Okay, so
They
it's
just-
totally up to us.
Yep.
Okay, does the Volbrecht Foundation, Ruby, have a history with the fire department in any way?
Not that I'm aware of. I know that she gave money to the library and other entities around
Okay.
town. I know the library because we talked about it at the staff meeting. But I think she gave some to the city, so or some other place in the city, so she's, I think EMS maybe. And, so she just wanted to give to different organizations around the city.
Okay.
So we all kind of pretty much got about the same amount, from what I understand.
So we're just, I'm sorry, we're just accepting the donation.
I would say accepting the donation, deciding if we want it to be restricted somewhere or designated to something.
Do we want to accept it and then designate next month when we've had a chance to think about, because that's about the cost of one radio that we're going to need to
Sure.
spend?
I'm fine with that.
Accepting it and putting it where would be in the donation category, right? And so we could talk about it next month, what we want to put it toward.
Right.
If everyone else is all right with that.
Okay.
There's not a timeliness to it, so. And then I think next week we can talk about, I mean, Ellen will be here, but we can talk about what the, the thank you procedure is, how we get back to them. If we want to use any of that money for some form of a plaque here or anything like that. All right.
We've got to make a motion.
Yeah, do I need to make a motion
Yeah.
to, what, table that?
No, make a
No,
motion to
accept
accept it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
Don't table anything.
I feel like I shouldn't have said that even. I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, don't do that.
All right,
Because-
I'll entertain,
Just accept it.
Yes,
I'll entertain a motion to accept the donation.
I'll make a motion to accept the donation.
Like, can we say to accept the
Ruby Volbright.
Ruby Volmark donation.
Donation.
and for $5,975.24?
$5,975.24.
Okay.
Seconded.
Any other discussion?
Just want to say thank you on the public record. That's incredible.
Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. CLA letter. Doug, you're gonna read
Yeah.
the other letter?
I'm going to read the other letter that, this is dated November 5th, 2023. So when you are going to read this in entirety, so you have a copy of that. So when you look through that audit statement provided by CLA, they're stating some things here that you are wanting, that they want you to look at, okay? And so this is dated November 5th, 2023, and it says, "To the Ripon Area Fire District Board, the purpose of this memo is to summarize the 2022 audit report for the board. First, I would like to mention the delay as this is later than usual. The reason for the delay is the situation with the former chief. There were additional procedures we were required to perform due to increased audit risks, as well as additional procedures requested from management and governance." Stating on page 1 of the annual financial report is the independent auditor's report, which states that we have audited the accompanying financial statements of the Ripon Area Fire District as of and for the year ended December 31st, 2022. Further, we issue a clean, unmodified opinion as explained in paragraph 2 on page 1. This is the best option we can provide from an audit standpoint. It is important to note that we do not review every transaction of the district, as we used a risk-based, test-based approach. Furthermore, we do not issue absolute assurance. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of audit statements, whereas our responsibility as auditors is to issue opinion under the standards. On page 5, a few key points. Cash balance was $326,477 as of December 31st, 2022, compared to $424,446 as of December 31st, 2021. Fundraising cash was $32,583 as of December 31st, 2022, compared to $17,767 as of December 31st, 2021. The net position was $2,737,049, a decrease of $74,334 from 2021. Of this $2,330,966 was the investment in capital assets. $316,528 was unrestricted and available for use as of December 31st, 2022. On page 6, a few key points. Revenues increased $38,325 from 2021, up to $519,373, most of which was in the charges for services line. Personal services expenses increased due to the additional staffing around 2022. Expenses in total increased $206,695, mostly due to to the near $118,000 increase in wages, as well as increase in professional fees of approximately $35,000 in other repairs and maintenance. Page 24 has a detailed budget to actual schedule showing a breakdown of the expenses. Other non-operating revenues includes a nearly $127,000 donation that will be used in future years. In the enterprise fund, it is important to look at cash flow over time as there are non-cash related items included in the revenues expenses. The idea is that the district generate enough cash flow from operations to cover capital purchases and any debt. Below are a few key points from the cash flow on page 7 for 2022. Cash flow used by operating activities was $104,318,000, compared to cash flow provided in 2021 as $79,118. Cash flow provided by capital was $40,415 as of December 31st, 2022, including the donation of $126,572. Total change in cash and cash equivalents was $83,153 at December 31st, 2022. Starting on page 26, this is our independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters. As part of the audit, we review the district's internal controls, but we do not express an opinion. We would be required to disclose any material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or non-compliance. We disclosed 2 significant deficiencies as the result of our audit. The first is preparation of the annual financial report, which is typical for entity the district size due to the complexities of the disclosure. There was a finding in the prior year as well. It is important to note that we do prepare the majority of our clients' financial statements. However, it is vital that the district continue to thoroughly review and approve the annual financial report. New for 2022 is a segregation of duties, finding as a result of the bookkeeper being able to complete nearly all the essential financial duties of the fire and the fire chief's ability to initiate and approve expenses. In order to mitigate this risk, it is vital that the board take an active role in the reviewing and approving of the financial records of the district. We see this often at clients, but we want to make sure that the review and approval does not become a check-the-box situation. We are here and willing to assist in any way we are able to assist the district in remedying this finding. It is important that we work together on this to ensure everyone is on the same page and that there is a full understanding of the risks to the district. And that is the letter, that is the communication received from CLA today. Okay. Any discussion at this time? Jonathan?
Was it, there was nothing to vote on? If anybody had anything to discuss on it?
How do you interpret when it says, we are able to assist the district in remedying this finding? This finding, I wish it would just say what this finding is. This finding
So they
is,
give 2 findings, right? The second one is basically the check the box of trying to be more cognizant.
Right, the bookkeeper initiating and the chief saying yes.
They're saying that.
that finding.
Kind of bypassing the board, so, you know, we don't know what was spent,
Okay.
okay?
Anyone else? All right, moving on to Chief's report. Chief Hollis.
I gotta find it here. First one here, department staffing and morale update. Same as before. We're still moving along. Morale, I would have to say, is probably up a little bit. Still holding steady. Review of October open house.
Can I ask why? Why do you think morale is up? Like, what indicators do you have for that?
People are happy. They're getting into trainings more. They're getting more involved with them. It just seems like they're having more fun. So.
Great, thanks.
Getting back to the open house, we had that in our first week in October. We had a bunch of things here for the kids to do. The open house overall was a success, I think. One problem we had was parent-teacher conferences were that same day, that evening. So a lot of families were coming here, trying to rush through everything to get back to the school, to get their kids in their conference. I don't know how we can change that. If it falls that way every year, I'm not sure. But otherwise, I think the open house was all right. The weather could have been a little bit better. One big thing we did have is we had med flight come in from Madison. So the helicopter landed, and that's always a cool sight to see. One other thing we did, we had trick-or-treating, which was the end of the month in October. We also did a public relations thing here. We did the pizza carbon monoxide / fire alarm campaign. It was slow that day. We only did 7 deliveries. The reason for that was Aromas was closing that night. So we figured, he figured everybody was at Aromas. So there wasn't much happening up there. But that was a good turnout.
Was there any findings for anyone needing?
There wasn't any, no. There was one needed batteries. One needed some batteries, but otherwise, we had 5 that let us in, checked them, and a couple that didn't want us to come in, so. We didn't push it, we just turned around and we left. Certification updates, I do have a bunch of those certifications, if I can just find them now. Engineer Cooper, he finally got his drone pilot license. So now we do have a drone pilot operator, so we can put that drone back in use again.
Sorry about that.
And firefighter Sunky, he's one of our firefighters as well. He has his driver operator. He just got that now. And then interim deputy, or interim assistant chief, she just got her fire officer 1 as well.
Congratulations.
So there's 3 certificates we got. Monthly calls for service, you have that in front of you, I believe, here, for October. Run down, and then in the back here is the breakdown of calls, 27 for the month. 11 of those calls were during the day. Mutually given with 1. Received 0. Total calls was 272.
Did you get the kitty out?
Excuse me?
Did you get the kitty out with the storm drain?
No.
No.
It shot it, so it went back down the storm drain and out where it came in, so
We did not get the cat rescued that day.
Yeah.
he got himself rescued.
Fire inspections is the next thing on here. They are all completed. So the fire inspections are done for the second round. They're all completed. So. Strategic plan update. Are you taking that?
I can do it, yeah.
Perfect.
Do you want to do your new hires, and then I'll just do
Yeah, that would
it
be
from
great.
there?
New hires, we did interview 3. And out of those 3, 2 of them, we're still waiting on some background checks and some references that have not been returned. The phone calls have not been returned to us. One of those I spoke of earlier. She was one of the gals that applied this spring, and then she went to fight wildland fires. And she is back now, and she did the interview process, and she would pass. She's one that we would like to hire.
Okay, so are you asking us?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And the other 2 you'll hold off?
2 we're gonna have to hold off until we
Okay,
find
so
out.
we typically say her name, don't we?
Okay, yep.
Okay, what's
Her
your
name
name?
is Jade Bassan.
Say that again.
Jade Bassan,
Jade.
Jade. Last name is Bassan, Besson.
Any issues with you guys?
No, like he said, she came and she helped us with a controlled burn this spring, and I had no complaints.
She's in fire class already, so she's
No,
already.
she's already done.
Oh,
She's already
done.
certified,
Yeah.
yep, she's the one that's already certified. So, yep, she's certified in structural fire and wild end fire, so, and she wants to be a paid on call and a daytime person, so.
Okay.
So when we are approving that, are we approving, I mean, you looked at, that fits into where
Yep.
you need it.
They want to hire, and they need our approval.
I get
Yeah.
that, but when you said that she wants daytime and paid on call,
Yep.
I'm just making sure are we as a board approving, let's say we have enough daytime. I mean, you're checking the numbers and where we need
Right,
them and.
yeah, I mean.
They run that anyway.
Yeah.
Right, it all goes down to scheduling, so, so some people only take one day a week, some people, want more. But yes, like like this month, we'll put her on with some other people, get her up to, trained up to how we do things and how we run our engines and stuff like that, and then she'll end up being on a shift. But in amongst all, like, we're putting people on, but we also have people that are not, that are still in school, that, like, I have 2 that are in paramedic school and they have full-time jobs. So when they're not paramedic class, they're at their full-time job. So right now, until their paramedic class is done, I don't have them to schedule. So.
And to that point, last month, I think you said that during daytime, there are days when you don't have 3 people staff, correct?
Correct.
Some days where you didn't really have,
2, we had 2 people.
but some days
Some,
only
some,
had 1.
some days we only had 1.
Yep.
This month, it's better. I've got 3 or 2 scheduled every day.
That's good to hear.
So their schedules are getting a little bit, easy,
And the 2 other ones could maybe help with that next, and we have to
Well,
wait now a whole month?
Yeah.
So you could use them, and let's say the references get back to you in a week, we could use them on daytime, and we have to wait a month?
Possibly.
But only one is for daytime. The other one doesn't have any schooling at all yet.
Well, 1 is 1 person. That goes 2 to 3.
Background checks gotta be okay first,
That still could take a couple of weeks.
right?
But if it doesn't take a couple of weeks, that's just our normal practice that we wait? Is there any other models can people vote on email or something? I mean, I just think if we have days where we feel like we're understaffed and
You
we're
can't
now.
vote on email, that would be against open meetings.
I get that, Ellen, but what is the proposal? We just say that that's our procedures, we wait till we're understaffed, and just because we're not meeting as a board, that seems a little not
Well,
considering
we
the
could call
community.
a special meeting, Jolene. You just can't do it online and you can't do it by phone because that's a violation of open meeting laws.
And as of right now, I don't think we're hurting in the numbers for daytime. We're fine. And I think once you go through this strategic planning, you probably can see what's gonna happen and maybe, or could maybe happen in here. So I think rather than right now, we just let the Jade come on as we want, and the other 2 are for next month.
So we feel good at 2 being staffed for daytime, that is enough as a department.
Well,
We-
because I'm here during the day too, so if I have to jump in, I can jump in.
And there's more than 2 people here during the day. He's here, I'm here.
We got our
We have
engineers that
anywhere
come
between 5 to
down.
10 plus the 2 that are here.
Can we
we're-
take a step back? You're talking about the strategic plan, right?
No, we're talking about hiring,
Excuse me, what?
or,
We're talking about the other 2 that we're still waiting on background checks for.
Oh, so you're talking about hiring.
Correct.
correct.
Well, we're not in a dangerous position right now. We've got, what, 36,
We have
People?
32 members.
32? Okay. I think we need those background checks. And we need to confirm, because we need to confirm they have everything they say. We don't want to hire somebody who's misrepresenting themselves.
I 100% agree. My only point was, it seems like my impression was, we were a little short-staffed. But if Chief here is saying we're not, and we feel comfortable with where we're at, well then, obviously I trust you.
Yeah.
Well, let's just see how it shapes up, and, if you get a background checks all back in like 3 days, right? Send an email to Ellen, send it out to us, and if it works, then we can have a special meeting, otherwise we wait a month.
Yep.
I will entertain a motion to extend, I don't know how to phrase it, extend a hire to Jade Bassan.
I'll make a motion to approve Jade Bassan as a new hire for the Ripon Area Fire District.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Come back to strategic plan.
All right, so I know Heather got you all a copy, so I appreciate that. This is one of the, in the process when we do strategic planning, this, where we're at now is sort of a fragile step in the sense that we're looking for feedback, but it's not, this group is one of many groups that we took input on to develop it. So, same thing, we sent the document to the department members that participated in the planning sessions and said, please give us any concerns or feedback you have, but also please be aware that there's other input. So the board had input, the community had input. So just because someone says I don't like, one person says I don't like what's in there, doesn't necessarily mean that we're gonna ultimately change it. It's a consensus document. So I guess I would start, just sort of put that out there now so everyone sort of understands the expectation of what the intent is for tonight. But, so the document was put together using the steps that we laid out earlier in the process. And that included getting feedback and input from elected and appointed officials, from the department members, and from the community. So there was 3 main groups, and that one of the things that I see as a value, and McMahon sees in a value of strategic planning for fire and EMS police, is that you can design, a person who's can design a service system based on what you tell me I want 2-minute response time. I can develop a response system to give to you and provide and say, here's how you can get fire engine there in 2 minutes. Now, that doesn't mean that the community wants that or is willing to pay for that. So this is an important step to hear what the feedback is from all the different stakeholders here and say, okay, what is the expectation and that of this community? And that's sometimes tough because when you ask a resident, what do you want out of your fire department? I could probably with certainty say most people say to get there fast when something's wrong. That's the general answer we get no matter where I go. And that's when you are a resident, that's what you want. If your house is getting burglarized, you want the police to get there fast. If your house is on fire, you want the fire department to get there fast. If your loved one's having a medical emergency, you want the ambulance to get there fast. So there's nothing wrong with it, but fast comes with a dollar value that as elected officials likely understand that sometimes fast is so expensive. The definition of fast has to be, I guess, put into context at some point. So we try to work through that and have that discussion. So the plan was used looking at all that information, or put together looking at all that information to say, where are you at now, and where do you want, or where does the consensus think you should be, and then a plan to keep on track of how do you track those goals that are in the plan to accomplish, or to track the accomplishments there. Part of this project included, which is a little, there's sort of a straight up strategic plan project, and then we do what we're doing for you, which is strategic plan, but also looks at the organization as far as a best practice standpoint, sort of an organizational assessment with the strategic plan, and we did that as part of your request for your RFP was to do both. So we did that, and when we look at best practices, we look at not only where, in a strategic plan, sometimes it's more community-driven, member-driven, but we looked at what are the rules and laws that are mandated for fire departments in the state of Wisconsin, what are best practices. There's standards, you'll hear people talk about NFPA standards, National Fire Protection Association standards. Generally, those in Wisconsin are not mandates, those are recommendations or professional standards, best practices. In some states, those are law, but in Wisconsin, for the most part, with some rare exceptions, those are not law. So, but you still have to look at that and say, as a professional organization, okay, someone probably, if something goes wrong, just like any other industry standard, someone's gonna hold that up in a courtroom someday and say, well, you weren't doing this or you weren't doing that, and you should have known better. So we look at that. So I guess the general idea of, again, like I said, we're tonight's intent is to say, are there any significant concerns from the group, what's in the document at this point, or questions? The next step after this would be to finalize it and then make it not a draft any longer, but a document that we would submit to the board and do a more formal presentation about what's actually in it to move forward. So I guess my intent tonight was hopefully get any feedback or concerns there are in the document. I'm more than happy to go through it a little more in depth. I just don't want to drag out a meeting if we don't need to.
Well, I agree. I do have a question, maybe you can answer it. The survey we put online, how many responses did we get back?
I believe there was, I want to say 70 or 90. Yeah, 73. It was more than I expected.
Yes,
It
that's
was
way
a good
more.
turnout as far as what I expected usually from online surveys. Online surveys sometimes don't produce the numbers, and people actually took some time and wrote things in the survey
Okay.
that were helpful to explain some of the answers that they, where you just say a lot, excellent, average, below average type.
Well, anybody out there listening, watching, that took it, I appreciate it. I think I speak for the whole board. We appreciate your input.
Yeah, and you can see that the gradings or the scorings in there, we're generally 10 and 11 positive. And I think people feel that your service is good, your suppression, your public education, the rescue. I think from my standpoint, and I've had the benefit to have been around the department longer than with some clients we do these. I would say not surprise responses based on some of the issues that have come up since I've been involved in about a year with some of the questions about code and fire code inspections, questions that I know the department gets, or concerns that they saw. So, but overall, I think, we saw positive community input, and also I think you have a lot of dedicated people that are here on the department, is what we found as far as our assessment of the organization.
My only question was on page 8. And at the very bottom, the following items to ensure compliance with SPS 330.
Yep.
The very bottom bullet point, because as you go through, all the top ones are kind of like building out the system, right, to do something.
Mhm.
And the very bottom one is just so specific on like the actual things. Is there a reason that you're calling out those specifics and not just saying all required state testing, or?
Yeah, so those are very specifically called out in SPS 330, those
Okay.
specific tests, the pump test, the ladder test, the flow testing, and the fit testing are all very specifically identified in the administrative code document.
Okay.
That's where they're specific.
Things that we've not always been the
Sure.
best at doing.
So I remembered that, and I was wondering if that was the reason, or if it was because it was specifically
Yeah.
called out. So, okay.
It's specifically called out.
Also on page 8, district board should consider reviewing creation of a joint fire commission. I think there was a reason we don't have it,
Yeah, there's different,
and I think we need to, before we do that, we need to check with our attorney and see why.
there's different structures, and I can talk to Mr. Macy about it. There's different structures for specifically in statutes for joint departments.
You know, we're kind of a hybrid thing here. It
Yeah.
doesn't, we didn't fit into some things, but that's not all bad.
Yeah, and some departments will, this makeup will do what you're doing, where you have, so, the action you took tonight to approve a hire for a firefighter, in some, where there's a commission, normally the commission would take care of that work, and the board would approve budget, more policy documents. There are departments, joint departments primarily, because the statutes for cities, villages, and towns talk more specifically about commissions, police and fire commissions if they have a commission. So that's where the joint departments become sort of cloudy in the statutes. And so it's primarily your legal counsel's opinion as to how you should do it. I'm more than happy if you have an opinion to amend that, if there's an opinion that says this is how our legal counsel has stated, but just something that probably should be checked on.
Are we talking about if you become a Green Lake Ripon Joint Fire District or something? or what?
No, we weren't talking with anybody in Green Lake about this.
No, but
No.
what,
So,
the concept? What-
it's very more clear in the statutes for cities, villages, and towns.
Okay.
For police and fire, there's there's a governing body, which would be like a village or a town or a city council, town board, where they're addressing policy issues like budget. This is the level of service where we want to provide. And then the commission, the Police and Fire Commission, addresses the personnel matters, so they're dealt with separately. The intent of that in the statutes, as I understand it, was to keep personnel matters somewhat separate from political matters. And generally, commission is not elected officials in those communities. In fact, there's some stipulations in the statutes that say only a certain number of people can be an elected official on a commission. There are pros and cons, and like Gary said, you may have worked through that, and an attorney, I've seen multiple different opinions from multiple different attorneys about what that should look like, and there's a lot of places doing it differently. Not different than you, but just different ways to do it throughout the state.
Part of it's also because we've got the city, which they got a police commission.
Right.
And if we were a village, Ripon or Nepeaskin, you could have one too, but because it's joint and we're townships, they're a city,
Yeah.
the way it was put together doesn't fit into some molds.
Okay.
The other thing though, I think we have to remember, you can't be on this board without being an elected official.
Right, so that's why we would have to have further discussion, and I'd like to appreciate Chief Whitaker sharing with me those bylaws for the communities, because that's another thing that we need to work on is updating, amending our bylaws to make them a bit more clear, what's going to be a policy and procedure, and what's going to be the bylaws, the governing documents. So there's some things that are kind of, I feel, and I think Chief Whitaker feels, they're kind of mushed together. Policies and procedures are meshed in with the bylaws, like using the bay to wash your car. Should that really be in our governing documents, or should that be more in a policy and procedure, or something else entirely? So we kind of want to clean, maybe, I think we should clean some stuff up and separate it, and so one should be harder to amend and change, and some should be a little bit more flexible and easier to change without doing a whole bunch of stuff to do that. So that's another issue that we got to tackle too. So there will be lots of work to do for this board.
Based on what you just said,
Yeah.
where is that the statement or the idea that the policies, procedures, and bylaws are all meshed together? Where is that kind of
It's-
concern in the strategic plan?
It's not kind of in there. It just says on page 8 at the bottom, that's kind of what brought it out, because he's mentioning different kinds of models to use. The different communities have different kinds of forms for this.
So, yeah, that and as far as the updating your policies and procedures, that's later in the document and that is included, I guess I can clarify that too, is that was part of the intent, was to say you have operational policies and procedures that could be updated, but you also have administrative procedures and policies, and there's work rules, and then there's governing body, this is what a quorum is, this is what a voting requirement is, and right now, they're sort of blended in, similar to the car washing thing, sort of a basic item, but in some of your organizing documents, it talks about the voting rules of the board, and then it says, here's the rule to wash your car in the bay, and how I would say is let's separate those out, so you have your governing stuff, let's say in this pile, and then you have your more operational, here's how you get hired on the fire department, here's some of the internal procedures separate from that.
And then as a follow-up, I guess if we needed to know, what are other departments using for their terminology for certain procedures or bylaws, is that something we can come to you?
Yep.
Is there an additional cost to ask those types of questions?
No, we can, I provided some samples already, and
Okay,
that's
great.
that's a little quick item, and I guess if you said to us, hey, rewrite all our stuff, I'd say, well, that's probably gonna cost
That's
you.
a whole nother.
That would be different.
But it's, can you send me 3 different examples of departments that do it this way? Because I know 3 departments right off the top of my head, going back to Gary's question about the commission, that do it 3 different ways, and they all have an attorney that says it's the right way to do it.
Interesting.
So it's your interpretation or someone's interpretation of the statutes and how it should be, so.
And then along that line, I would be interested, as you get time to take a look at this from the department, do you feel that you have all of the sort of examples or resources that you need to implement some of the goals? I guess just bring that forward. So for example, on page 17, one of the midterm goals, it says, create a performance appraisal program for members of the department. Do you feel that you have the tools and resources to create a performance appraisal program, or would that be helpful to ask our consultant for examples?
I think we could go either way. I mean, we have come up with some ideas over this year, but we can also
And-
put them
yeah.
to Robert and see if he
And
has.
one of the things that I enjoy working under my boss, Ed McMahon, is sometimes I've worked with consultants in other places where it's the products, here you go, and I'm gone. I delivered my report and I'm gone. Jeff and McMahon want to see the organization implement, succeed. So now I can't say it's an open hour, just call me whenever you want, but they're supportive of us saying, hey, I'm gonna spend a half an hour providing some examples, and we don't need to have we realize our project is done, but we've created a relationship, we wanna help you. And I'm sure there's a corporate reason why they do that too, to say, hopefully you'll come back to us next time you have a problem. But, they allow me to do that, so we'd be more than happy to sit down and, jump on a phone call and say, like, here's 4 different samples of, I can go out to 4 different departments that say, send me what you're doing right now, and get that and help work through that.
Well, that means a lot. Thanks for saying that. And again, I would just say to the department members, maybe go through and while you're still here in our
Yeah.
presence, kind of saying, oh, I could use a little extra guidance on something here while we have that. And then my last question on this right now is, when I looked on page 9 under the SWOT analysis, so, going back to my question a little bit earlier, so we just approved to hire somebody. I see one of the weaknesses, sufficient members to cover needs. And so earlier you were saying that that is not a weakness, that is currently a strength, is what we're saying, that is not a concern anymore?
Definitely.
From when this was
Strengthening, yes.
strengthening, great, and I appreciate the efforts, but is that still a weakness? Or what has changed other than our hire tonight?
Hired how many more before this?
Yeah, we have hired more
Yeah.
since, so
Since-
technically that could probably.
Since the SWOT analysis was done, we've hired
3, 4.
4 or 5.
At the time, what I heard of the concern in the room at that point was there were 4 battalions that you use as your on-call cycle, and that there was a problem filling out all 4 for sufficient members. So since then, I guess I haven't totally kept up to speed as to where you're at with your members, but I know that was the concern at the time. And that also is reflected in the organizational structure. We said go to 3 for a while, at least for a while, until you can build back your numbers so you have reliable responses, because everyone has a life outside of the fire department too, so you can't have people that just every night that's what they're doing. That's tough for someone to do.
Well, and since this all started, I opened it up as an all-call.
Yeah.
Everybody can come down to any call they want. When you're on call for that specific battalion night, you have to be around. Because you're on call that night, and you're getting paid for your on-call. So I've opened it up that everybody can come down, and it's been working very well. It's been working great, so plenty of people to cover calls.
However, it's better now, but I know statewide, they're still struggling of recruiting and retaining members, so.
And it could next year.
So, you know, next year, we could lose 5. And so I think having it, that is still gonna be a weakness, even though it doesn't appear, because that could slip away in a couple of years. It's tough, you know, maybe they wanna go to a bigger department, and they've been offered, you know, X amount more dollars, and they're like, that sounds great to me, I'm young, I'm fit, you know, my body's strong, maybe not so much 15 years after that, but, you know, I think that's still going to be a significant weakness for a department like us or a similar size. It's good now, we've got some good, solid members, but who knows?
We're still short 4.
Yeah, that's what I think. I feel like we are short, and people keep saying we're
Well,
not.
also at the time of this SWAT thing, we also had 2 or 3 people that were on leave. And those are,
Right.
they're slowly coming back. So, you know, we haven't put as many on, but we have brought back the ones that were on leave at the time.
I think that until you're at a point where you're turning people away, right? I mean, if you ever hit that point, I mean, it's just a weakness. I mean, you can be down 10 people and it's a weakness, you can be up 5 people, it'll still be a weakness. But you hit, you know, a point where,
And I do look at the older members of the department, and there's still a fair number of them, so when they finally decide to hang up their hat, we're still gonna need members to feed the pipeline, so.
I agree. So my reason I asked
Yeah.
you not to take it off as a weakness, it's pretty glaring to me that it seems like it continues to be a weakness.
It will be for, probably for a long time.
And so that's why I want
Ever.
to keep talking about it. Now, we also, as a board, have one item on the weaknesses that we'll have to look at in the future. Communication between board and department members, to
Yeah.
see what we've done, or what we plan to do.
Yeah. Do you have any comments
Yeah,
on that, Chief?
I think that would be something to work on, is to communicating even who the board is to the members, and, you know, how, and there's different ways to do that, is to, so the members, when they're here at training, understand who's the board. And not, it doesn't need to be that you come to every training and sit here and listen to their concerns or their positives. It's somehow just get a, you know, some feedback from them, and they do have the opportunity to come. You have a person's desiring to be heard on your agenda, so there's a fine line of, do you want to come and listen to the board meetings too? I know, I think there was some thought prior and years ago that maybe they shouldn't come, is what I heard through some of the meetings we had with some of the members, is that it wasn't welcome to come to the board meetings. That's some, you know, business that someone else takes care of. So that's a two-way street, you know, the members have to be engaged too. But I think it's, you know, whether that's communicating what happens at the board meetings. You have some boards don't have the benefit of it being YouTube, and members can't, I mean, here you can go watch it if you really want to. So, it's just communication. I mean, it's people and communication, I guess. Everywhere I go, that's the, you know, challenge in an organization is people and communication.
I didn't realize it's an idea to come to a training. I didn't know that, I didn't realize I was invited, per
Yeah.
se.
I think firefighters, in my opinion, and I think police are probably like this too, is it's nice for them to see someone going, okay, what do you do? And not that you have to do it, but when they do a training and they lay out their hose and you know, it takes 4 people to get that done. We need new, you know, our SCBA's are old and they don't work well, and then I'm not saying that's the situation here, but where the board member sees, oh, I you know, put my hands on it, I can watch them do that.
No, a question, I've been to a couple of training over the years, and they've been very good and very helpful, and it was a lot of fun. Just for the record, when are the training down here, Chief? Chief, what days of the week and what times?
The second, no, first and third Monday of the month,
Good.
6:30.
I mean, if we go all the way back like 9 months ago, right, when you were here, maybe that was one of your comments to all of us too. was like the board wasn't listening to you guys, so
Yeah,
it's not shocking, right?
it's not shocking, it's a little bit better.
And you're never, you all are elected officials, you're never gonna please everybody.
No,
So,
we're not.
And I think the chiefs understand that too. So you know, but it at least gives people sort of their opportunity to say, here's my concern. You know, look, we got this piece of equipment, it's either good, it's bad, thank you for investing in this, or, you know, that face-to-face interaction.
Yeah, even though it's common, I want to take that serious. I want people to know too that, you know, as a board member, I want the communication to be strong. Even though that maybe is a common thing that you see, I still think it's important that we make sure that that's people know the avenues and we have good communication.
Yep. Yeah. You know, even I found in some departments that we would, after a board meeting, send an email saying, here's what the next day or a day later, here's what in general, a summary of what happened at the fire department board meeting last night to the members, so they know, yeah, they approved a hire, especially in a paid-on-call organization, because you're not coming to work every day.
Right.
So you're not physically here. And so if someone comes in, they hear it from somebody, and then someone says, well, why didn't the chief tell me that? Why did they only tell that person that? And you get that. So if you sort of send out that, here's the 4 things that happened at the board meeting last night. I found in 2 departments that I've worked in doing consulting work, that ended a ton of sort of the rumor mill or a weekly update. We were 2 other departments on Fridays, I'd send out, here's what happened this week in the department.
That's helpful.
And it's like 3 or 4 bullet points. You know.
Who typically would send that out?
You could probably have an administrative person, or the chief send it out, or, you know, in your example, maybe that's something I hate to dump more work on somebody, but
Jolene will do it.
yeah, and, you know, here's what's going on. We had,
Board president?
you know, one of the engines is out for service next week, just so you know, that's coming up. It sort of ends the speculation, because emergency service people, myself included, love to live off of rumors and speculation, and then that becomes life of its own, and then you have,
Then you have our time reading it out.
yeah.
Like a spot, like a board could be, like, I don't know if you have like a notification board or anything here, you know, where we could have something just tacked up and, you know, tack the minutes up from the last meeting.
And we do have one in the radio room,
Yeah.
so that's where all of our stuff is posted.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
They also listen to the board men. They also listen on the Ripon channel too, don't they, Chief? Don't they, John?
Who does?
The members of the fire department.
This doesn't go on the Ripon channel, this goes on YouTube.
YouTube, but there's a Ripon
It's
channel.
also Ripon channel. That is
There's
the
a
Ripon
channel on
channel.
YouTube.
That is the Ripon
Okay.
channel on YouTube.
Yeah.
So Ripon channel is also the
So-
local, yeah.
Yeah, there's all that junk, excuse me, not junk, community interests. There's all that stuff on there, so, I mean, we used to get like 800 hits, now it's down to like, what, 40, 30? So, yeah, they could, you know, they can listen on that and watch the board and talk, and we could do the bullet thing too. Because honestly, some of these meetings go a while. And even on, you know, fast forward at double speed with the closed captioning on, still takes a while. Not that I would necessarily do that all the time, but, so yeah, that bullet point thing, you know, more important things, we hired someone, we talked about this and that, and we're gonna move forward on that. That would summarize it, not for minutes, which is something different, but for, you know, more relevant things that they might be interested in, so.
It's great. Maybe I should clarify, because I'm in the community relations committee for the city. There is city, you know, taxpayer money that goes towards being able to broadcast, thank you, through the Ripon channel. And the Ripon channel, when we say that, is both the local cable station as well as, you know, YouTube is just like a platform. So it's the Ripon channel on YouTube. And there's also a Facebook page. So,
All right, so you said this was a draft, that you're looking for some consensus on, and we'll come back with
I
the
guess,
final.
yeah, if there's concerns, tonight, I'll take the concerns from this group, I have it out to the membership of the department that were part of the committee that put it together. Then I'll go back to my team and say, okay, what do we need to work through? I can follow up with the attorney and see if he has a.
So you're gonna take the action that you'll reach
Yeah,
out to him?
if that's not a problem, I'll just reach out to Mr. Macy and check with him to see if he ever wrote an opinion on that or is aware of that. I think that's a good idea to do, and then it resolves it. And then the next step would be to clean it up, if there's any need to clean it up, which I'll definitely address that for sure. And then if you'd like, we can come back and do a presentation to this group with more detail on some of the short-term, midterm, and long-term goals. It's up to you, we usually leave it up to the board how they would like to proceed with that. If they want more of a formal presentation, if they just want the document, and that'd be completely
So
up to you.
I'm looking through this, and I've already looked through this, Chief Whitaker. So the short-term goal, is you're recommending that we have a part-time fire chief administrator to work 20, 30 hours a week?
Correct.
And then have a deputy chief part-time,
Yep.
assistant chief full-time, assistant chief of administration, full-time. Now, what would the assistant chief of administration do?
That's generally what Heather's doing.
Okay. And then, now, I know that we got that, all our fire inspections done due to one inspector. Where would somebody like that fit in here?
So, I think right now, if you're able to do it with part-time hours, it's the more efficient way to do it.
Okay.
There is, I think at some point, an idea, suggestion, and I know it's in the document, to say, if we're having challenges with that, that may be something in the future that the board could consider of a person that would do, there's a couple roles. They could be a firefighter / inspector and be around during the day to cover things. I think right now, it sounds like you're able to, with the staff you have, you've gotten through that. When we started the process, there was challenges getting the inspections done, I think.
But we have more than one inspector currently.
Yeah. I mean,
Doug
it went-
spoke of one, but there is.
Right, yeah,
Part-time people.
Right, there is more, I know that, but I know that we got it all done, and because we had the right people, and I kind of want to make sure we can keep going forward with that.
I think that method definitely is a more cost-effective method to do it. If you were to run into a situation where that method wasn't working anymore, that is, in the document, it talks about that would be something that you may want to consider as a future position. Not tomorrow, but that may be something in the future as the number of inspections gets larger or people turn over that aren't available to do that and would have the flexibility to do that in a part-time position. That's something in the future you could do.
Okay. And then notice that short-term goal 7 is review and recommend updates to the department's bylaws. So that's something
That was what you were talking about. I
Is
knew
it
it was,
something that
I couldn't
fits in
remember
there?
where I had that, but it's in there.
And working on adopting a long-range capital improvement plan, yeah, that's something we've always,
And so that is in Appendix C. And I know that you've been working on that, the document that Kevin, one of my team members, put together, that I think you have at least seen before, is in Appendix C. That was part of the scope of the project that we were
Right.
hired to do.
right.
So I don't know what everyone else's thoughts are on having a presentation in December.
Yeah, we can do December if
Would
that
be
works.
when it is?
Amber's coming in December.
How long is that?
I would imagine it's gonna be a while.
It's gonna be a while.
Maybe we'll check in with Ellen.
Well, how long is our contract? So, I mean, if we were to put it in January,
It's
which will
not,
be January 2nd, which I'm not that excited to have a long meeting on January 2nd, but,
The contract is open-ended, it's more our
Right.
time and materials, I guess I'll call it, is what we're working under. So if you don't do anything till January, you don't get billed for hours in December if we don't do anything, and then in January, you get a bill for time.
I kind of recommend that we loop Ellen in on this. I think she's listening, but I think let's let her make that decision. Or
Well, I
she's,
don't think it should be my decision, but I think Jolene had a good idea for January 2nd, or whenever that is,
For
the
first-
January meeting.
Yeah, it's laid out on our proposed meeting
January
schedules.
2nd. So,
Tuesday
are you
the
good? Does that
2nd.
give you time to finish?
Oh, yeah. It'll be done before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It gives everybody time to provide input too, right, Robert?
Yeah, we can, that is more than enough time.
right, because we could go through this and then email you.
Yep, if you have anything,
And,
shoot me some.
and ask clarification, or we think that maybe that's not where we want to go, and then you can hash it out some more.
Yep.
I mean, I think you've done a really, really fine job. You and the Kevins have done a really fine job with this and helping us kind of get a grasp of what should have been years ago. But maybe it took this long to get to where we need to be, to understand where we need to do, what we need to do, so.
I'll mark January 2nd as on my calendar,
Okay,
and then if something changes, something changes.
Okay.
Yeah, that works for me.
Good. All right, moving on to old business. Collection firm information. Ellen, you didn't send me anything on that, so I'm assuming Heather or?
No, I've been so busy with, Heather and I have been working on the accounting stuff, and now I've slowed down, and the computer stuff we've been working on, so that's still on my list of things to work on.
No worries. All right, accounting transition, Heather?
There's really not, we're moving ahead on it. There's still some things that CLA is helping me understand with the whole new QuickBooks program. We are doing payroll out of our own system, and we are doing our own accounts payable checks. So we've been doing that for about the last month, payroll and, so.
So how long do you think
It's
it'll
moving.
take before it is,
Before what?
before it's all smoothed out?
I'm hoping with Kelly's help at CLA that her and I can get through everything that we have to do in our system. We pretty much went through it the other day. It's just getting it done and figuring out where everything is in the system. So you should all have gotten a check register. It's called the Bills and Applied Payments for the month of October, so that shows you everything that we paid, accounts payable wise.
I have 2 questions on that.
Sure.
What's KZ again?
KZ is the ones that put our doors in, they fixed our.
Gotcha.
Yep, that was the last of the payments.
All right. And McQueen Emergency?
McQueen Emergency, they come in and they did the annual maintenance on our compressors, thank you, on the compressor, so.
KZ Enterprises, what, Ripon Area Builders now?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Ripon Area Builders, yeah. So,
And remind me, so QuickBooks is new, what did we use before?
Civics, which was the cities, and we can't use it anymore, because we had a VPN in. So now we went to QuickBooks. So, and it's an easy system to use once you find out what you gotta do. So my biggest problem right now is getting you guys the reports that you're used to. So I'm working on that. So if there's something a certain report you're wanting, let me know and I can see if I can get it out of the system. But I can't get you the exact same.
okay. I'm sorry, Heather, I understand this now, so like, we issued out an amount of like, let's see here, $6,712, but they were payments for 2 bills that total that amount.
Correct. Yep.
So that shows the money go on, we sent the money out and they cashed the check. We accepted the payment in some way, so it,
This is what the two, if you're looking at the top one on the second page, you have a bill for the $2,210, and then you have a bill for $4,502.
right, I'm going backwards.
Yep,
But-
and then that adds up to the $6,712,
Right.
and that's the check that we sent them. Right.
I get that.
Okay.
I was saying it backwards.
Right.
Right. I was
Yep.
saying it backwards, I recognize that. So we had two bills for that.
Yep.
And so that equals the amount that we sent out to them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And now Barb's gone, so you're writing the check out. Who's,
I'm ready to check out, and then Doug and Ellen are signing them.
For right now, we're working on the other part, but.
all right. Gotcha. I think.
So, yeah, so, I mean, if there's a report you want, let me know. I will do my best to get it for you.
All right, moving on to new business. 5-year capital improvement plan. I guess I have a question in that 5-year capital plan is in that, which we didn't approve previously, and we're saying it's a draft and you're coming back in January. So is this 5-year capital improvement plan then, does that get approved from us in January when you come back?
I don't know. I think I'd leave it to Ellen.
It can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to talk about right now in there, or any questions from anyone on it?
I didn't have anything, but if there's questions, I can.
I actually have a question. We put in three, you have in the first year, I think, 48,000 for the suits that we currently budgeted 18,000 for, so I think we've got to flatten that out a little bit.
Turnout gear?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, turnout gear.
okay. I will talk to Kevin Clone on that. He was the one who did the most.
Other than that, Robert, I thought it looked pretty good. That was the only real big concern I had in that 5-year capital improvement plan, is just flatten that number out a little bit over the 5 years. And then the board should remember when we approve it, we're not, this isn't written in stone, it's like a chessboard. We can move things if a priority comes up and the command structure says we need something else. It's like a chessboard. We can move things to prioritize them for any given year.
Yeah, so my question was that I was gonna ask, what is the purpose, what are we actually doing when we approve it? Is it just to make sure we're sort of all on the same page?
Yes, it's so that you can see what we are expecting for expenditures, both capital and operational, over the next 5 years. So nothing should be a surprise.
Just one question, maybe I missed it here somewhere, but how much were radios gonna cost us?
About 5,000 to 6,000 pieces.
The estimate that we got, the one estimate we've gotten so far was $330,000.
Was
Well,
that,
331, we'll say 331.
was that in this capital plan?
Well, they've got it spread out for the 24 across the 5 years.
But to your point, it's 420,000, you just said it was 300 and some thousand.
Right,
So it's half.
correct. So this is just for 5 years. You can extend it out for 10 years and keep getting more. We just went 5 years for the strategic
Yeah,
plan.
because that's when the county's gonna make that switch.
Right,
and I
within
think-
5 years we have to.
Right, and I think we want to be set for that. So,
This, I believe, is getting radios over 5 years, so in 2028 you have the sufficient fleet to
Right.
get, so you can go live. Is that how
Yeah.
I understand it?
So it's not a
It may not
complete
be
replacement
all
of
of
everything
them,
you have.
but it's enough to operate minimally? Is that how?
I
That's
think
how I understood
I think
it.
that's how he did, that we can operate, I mean, yeah.
I thought it was grant money too we were gonna apply for.
We're gonna apply for grant money, but if we, I think that, and I think maybe that's where it comes in, is that if we get grant money, the difference would be the 24 for the 5 years.
Could be, so that I would say, I haven't talked to Kevin directly about the grant, but the FEMA Fire Act grant, I would say that's a good target for your radios. That's a commonly funded product in that grant. So that's, I believe, a 10% match So you could get a significant one-time infusion of money from them for 10% of 320,000, which would address your issue. But,
That would impress the heck out of me.
yeah. And that usually, it's an annual grant program, so they probably are gonna start opening that up pretty soon. So it would be something to maybe, if that's your target as a board, to go after. That would be, I would say, that and turnout gear would be two things you can get out of that grant program that are promising. Because they like to fund, I'll call it basics.
That's a basic, the
Yeah,
radios
that's
are
basics
basic,
when it comes to
definitely.
fire. And you could make a strong argument that your radios are out of date and. are
They will be very soon.
Yeah, and that your county is transitioning
Mm-hmm.
to a system that you have to get onto
Right.
to continue to function.
Well, it's a fantastic lead, but, so I'm not sure I still understand, if the total plan though should not, so even if we get the grant, we shouldn't be discounting it, the total plan cost should be the actual total plan cost, right?
Why don't I follow up with Kevin Clone, who did this, so
Okay.
he has better, probably
I think,
idea of the
I think
detail.
I think he did this before we got the quote,
Got it.
and so I think he was guessing as how many
Yeah.
radios we needed.
Yeah, I would assume he's probably short, or he was using the minimum to deploy.
But yeah, just
To
to
get
get
out,
us
to get
through.
over, because you could do that and still need more.
Yeah,
I'll verify that.
we need like 35, 36 radios or something. Handhelds and mobiles.
That's just the handhelds, but then you got all the
40.
ones in the rigs too.
Yep, you got them in the
42
rigs and you need them. Yeah.
More than that.
No, 42 handheld.
Oh, yeah, it could be that, yeah.
So, I mean, so it's not just moving this to the next month, we're moving this to January, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And can I just ask, so I understand Ellen's question, I just want to make sure I understand it so I can work with my team. You're looking for the 2024 turnout gear number, which is 48,000. That's the specific number you're looking at?
So we have 18,000 right now
We have
budgeted,
18,000
so
budgeted.
shift $30,000 through the
Oh,
next 4 years.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, to your question, yes, January to go over all of it, yeah.
Got it. So we'll be ready in January to talk about that too.
Okay.
Or at least explain why he chose to not put, I mean,
Yep.
the way he did it. If there's a recommendation as to why.
He couldn't be here tonight, I was hoping he could,
Yeah.
but I'll make him be here in January.
Oh, you can.
That's
All
gotta
right.
be close to his retirement date from his full-time job.
Moving on to the
They have to
proposed
entice
meeting schedule for next year. I didn't verify, but I'm assuming the 2 Wednesdays in there correspond to voting on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I think so too.
April-
Yes, they do.
April and November, so otherwise everything seemed pretty standard. Any issues from anyone? Assuming I have to entertain a motion to approve that. Ellen?
Is that an action item? I don't think so.
Yes?
No, you don't need an action item. You can do it by consensus if everybody agrees.
Any issues?
I think it's nice that we're not meeting on an election day.
Yeah, we've done that before.
Are they moving, at one point Naomi mentioned moving voting down here. Is that off the table now?
I think it was a kind of a backup plan.
I need the backup plan in case something
Yeah.
happens down at City Hall.
So then, this will be communicated to, make sure that it's communicated to the public, right, clearly?
Well, Jolene, I do it every month when I do the agenda. The next meeting date is put on the agenda.
So it's gonna show that, the next meeting is April, Wednesday the 3rd, and not Tuesday.
But I mean, maybe it's just something, because isn't that on, like, I don't know what the towns do, but I think it's on the city calendar. I mean, maybe it would just be nice to forward that to Karen at the city,
I think they have
right?
it somewhere on the city website where it says the fire meets
Yeah.
the first Tuesday.
That's what I mean. That's my
Right,
point.
but they're not
But
all
this-
Tuesdays, there's a couple Wednesdays.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Is that, don't you think we should inform them?
Yeah, well, we can do
That's my
that.
point.
Well, Karen has it, she sent it out.
Yeah, she does.
But she doesn't know that we
That she would-
consensusly,
I can email her tomorrow.
Okay,
thanks.
Sure.
Agenda items for future meetings. Next meeting will be CLA for sure, and the foundation money, what we're gonna do with that. January will be, you're coming back. Anything else from anybody? All right.
Wait,
Yeah, keep going.
our next December.
December 5th is our next meeting.
So you'll already be at Dickens. Are you going to Dickens for Christmas?
We
Is
are,
that-
yes.
Yeah,
We'll be
that'll be
there.
the weekend right before it. Yep.
Great.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to
I'll
adjourn.
second it.
All those in
Take it long.
favor, say aye.
I.
Aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 8:21.